Detroit Den 313. We are back. Stephen Will talking that Detroit Lions football. But before we get going, you know what to do. If you are not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget that bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, what are we talking, man?
You at work today, or yesterday, I should say. By the time we're recording this, it was officially yesterday.
Right on.
You asked me a question on the way out when we were walking out of work. Can Jared Goff win the most valuable player of the NFL, William? What do you think? Can he do it?
Steve, not only can he.
Oh, boy.
Not only can he.
Oh, no.
I think I think there's a possibility, a strong possibility. And this is coming from a lot of you guys who've put it in the comments that I'm a Jared Goff hater, which I'm not, but I just feel like, if I'm not mistaken, was Kurt Warner an MVP? Did he win?
Yes, he was.
I believe he won an MVP, and was he mobile? I don't think he was a guy running around.
1999 or 2000, I believe Kurt Warner won off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it was the year they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and he was slinging that thing around, and he had a guy who I've comped Marshall Faulk to, is Jahmyr Gibbs, who Jared Goff has, and he had that guy that was similar, Marshall Faulk. Listen, guys, I'm old now. I'm chunky. You can see it in the cheeks. I got a couple extra lbs, as somebody pleasantly reminded me the other day in our comments.
Yeah, it might have been both of us. We don't know who we were talking.
Yeah, whatever. But
body shavers.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm still recovering from that, by the way. But I don't know, man. I think I might be able to dink and dunk to like Amon-Ra, throw some screen passes to J-Mo, hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe give him a shovel pass that he might take to the house. I just feel like Jared Goff has every single tool to be successful, including a tool that hasn't been talking about, this new defense. Why do I talk about this new defense? Because when offenses are going 3 and out and we're getting that ball at the 40-yard line, if you've ever looked at those percentages, they say, hey, if you get the ball at the 20, I think there's like 80 or 85% that you end up not scoring points, right? Or you end up, the max you get is 3. When you get the ball at the 40, that thing goes up astronomical. So, Steve, I'm having a hard time believing that I'm not going to say that he's going to be the MVP.
I think that's what you were alluding to in the beginning.
But I am definitely, I'll say why I was alluding to that. I definitely will say if we stay healthy, he will be in the conversation. He dabbled in the conversation last year. But I mean, truly in the conversation, I expect Jared Goff to be this year. He's got a guy pushing him behind him. He's got all of the tools that he needs to be successful. He's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder. Jared Goff MVP 2024 season with the Super Bowl ring, parade going down Woodward Avenue. I'm there, probably shirtless with a Long Island iced tea in my hand. Are you on the same page? Talk to the people. Let me know.
I'm going to be very near you. And if you're shirtless, I think everyone's going to notice that hooker tattoo you have on your lower back because you're such a huge Hendon Hooker fan, not a Jared Goff.
Whatever.
Here's the thing. I like what you said about the defense. I wish you would have used the words extra possessions for Jared Goff, because that's what this defense can do. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the defense and I talked about the stats and how we were giving up. I think it was like 23 points a game. And I said, if we can get that down to 17, this team's going to be hard to beat on game days. And someone said I was crazy that you can't get 17 points in the NFL. We're talking 2 field goals. We're talking 1 touchdown. It's not an insurmountable number. We're talking a defense being much better, giving the ball to Jared Goff more times, more possessions, more touchdowns, more yards, more completions, higher QBR. It's possible. Am I willing to bet it? No. When I talk about Kurt Warner, the greatest offense to ever really play the NFL the last 25 years, arguably, they called him the greatest show on turf. I need to see more. Our guys are still too young. Jared Goff, here's the thing with the NFL. The MVP is a quarterback's trophy. Mm-hmm. We all know that a quarterback's going to win it. We don't know who. Is it going to be Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson? Like, it's a quarterback. It's like the Heisman Trophy. It's going to go to a quarterback. Jared Goff, out of all of those quarterbacks I just named, who has the most weapons? It's Jared Goff. It's not even close. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's the greatest right now. I'm not ready to call him the greatest of all time, but he's the greatest right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't have weapons like Jared Goff does. Travis Kelce's a nice weapon. He's 106 years old. He's talking about selling garage beers. I don't know how focused he is on football or Taylor Swift. Which ones he's more focused on. Jared Goff has weapons. I could name them. You guys already know who they are. Could he do it? Yeah, he could. I'm not willing to bet on it, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's in that top 3 conversation.
All right. Would you bet on him being in that conversation?
Yeah, I think a full season. Yeah, I think he could. The thing is, though, I got to see him clean up some of those trash games. The Chicago game, the Ravens game last year. We can't have games like that. You can't go out and try to. And I know he doesn't personally care about the MVP. This is just us talking. I can't have those garbage games. The Green Bay Thanksgiving game where he just played really bad, turnovers. Can't have that kind of stuff if you want to be in the MVP conversation. Clean that up, and absolutely he can be.
Yeah. Man, I just look at it. Jared Goff has thrown for 4,000 yards so many times. It's unreal, right? And who's he been throwing to until he got to Detroit, man? I know a lot of people talk very highly about that Rams receiving core that he had, but I wasn't overly impressed with them, So he's gotten to Detroit and he's got true weapons. He's got the best offensive line in football. I just feel like there's no better opportunity for Jared Goff to be successful than now. And I think he will. So I'm looking at that. And for those reasons, I truly believe that Jared Goff can be in this MVP hunt. And more importantly, he'll be getting finally being successful and getting that, bringing Detroit that Super Bowl win, man. I strongly believe. I know it's a very hard thing to do, but we will be competing for it. I guarantee that. As long as we stay healthy, man. But
are you okay over there? You all right?
Man, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. I'll tell you that. It's been a long day, man. Long day. I think the energy drinks that have been keeping me going are trying to come back up. But anywho, that said, man, staying on track with Jared Goff, I feel like people are one way or the other, man. They either love him or they hate him. People aren't really mid on Jared Goff. They'll tell you that he's trash somehow. And I've just never been a believer that he's terrible. Does he have a ceiling on the things that he can do physically? I think so. Would I feel way more comfortable if I had a guy that could do all of the things that Jared Goff could do and run? Yeah, yes, I would. But when we're just talking about Jared Goff, period, what he has and with what he is, I just feel like look at it. Last year, 4,500, year before 4,400. In the 2021 season where we were talking about Quantez Cephas, he still threw for 3,500 yards. Like, what are we talking about?
No respect for Quantez?
What are we
Pride of Wisconsin, man.
Buddy.
Best thing to come out of Wisconsin since Ron Dane, facts.
But easy. Yeah, man, I just feel like Jared Goff, man, the defense is really going to help him out. He's going to be playing with a short field a lot more than he was. I think it's going to take a lot of the pressure off of him. He won't even have to, you could look at the contrary of that and say he won't have to score as many points if that defense is playing well. But I feel like he'll still score his points. It'll be a little bit more efficient and there'll be less interceptions as well. So, and I don't think that he did a terrible job taking care of the football already, but when there's no pressure, man, I don't know, man. I just, guys, put it in the comments. Do you think that Jared Goff can be an MVP? Do you think that Jared Goff is the guy? Are there still people that aren't on this Jared Goff bandwagon yet? Because while I'll say I still want to see Hendon Hooker develop, Hendon Hooker's not the guy for the life of this contract. I don't want to see Hendon Hooker for 3 years. Period. I mean, unless, obviously, unless the worst happens, I don't really want to be talking about Hendon Hooker for the next 3 years. And this is a guy that was advocating for Hendon Hooker to get an opportunity. And I still do. I still want to see him be successful. I still want to see him get his opportunity in 3 years. Right. Until then, Jared Goff is our guy, man. He's our quarterback. And I think that he has the only thing that is acceptable to me is for him to be in that MVP race. Because if he isn't playing great football, what better situation is there, Steve? Like, you got a great offensive line. You got a bazillion weapons. If you don't play great football with this, then people are going to have a case. The Goff haters are going to have a real case.
I'm going to tell you why Jared Goff can win the MVP. I'm going to give you two reasons. First one, you ready for this one?
I am.
Josh
Tom
Reynolds.
Kennedy.
No. Josh Reynolds
Okay.
had 65 possessions last year. I don't think Josh Reynolds is an elite playmaker. That's 65 possessions that Jared Goff has to find, theoretically, that Jared Goff has to get the ball to in other ways to Amon St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe David Montgomery. Every single person I listed there, I think is more of a playmaker than Josh Reynolds. We got to spread out that 60. If you get Jahmyr Gibbs 20 more catches in this offense, problem. You give Jamison Williams 20 more catches in this offense, problem. You give Sam Laporta, sprinkle him in 5-6 more from what he did last year, problem. Donovan Peoples-Jones, problem. I think our playmakers are better this year. I think Josh Reynolds was a nice little security blanket, but he didn't scare anyone. Could you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Second, Ben Johnson, the most sought after offensive coordinator last year, decided to run it back. And we've talked about Ben Johnson. We know that he's not a perfect game caller. We know about the second half troubles, the third quarter issues. But if all that gets problems or gets solved, and we have all these playmakers on the field, best offensive line in football, Jared Goff, third year with Ben Johnson, more comfortability, he could win the MVP, William.
Yeah, man. I will say this, the MVP isn't my focus.
Not at all.
Obviously, but I would be tremendously happy for Jared Goff if he won it. On top of a Super Bowl. If I'm choosing between the two, I'm choosing the Super Bowl. But man, I just respect this story, man. The dude came here to die. I mean, you guys know the story if you're true Detroit Lions fans. To include me, I didn't. I thought he was a bridge quarterback. Proved us all wrong. Right, playing great football. Not only did he play great football, got another contract. And he's still out here with a chip on his shoulder, still out here fighting off a young guy who's trying to step into his shoes.
At this point in his career, Jared Goff probably should be a backup. That's just what history says. Hey, you were a number one pick, didn't work out with your team. By now, I think when the trade happened, I think everyone was kind of thinking, like you said, bridge quarterback, like they have a few years to draft someone. They didn't. They put faith in Jared Goff. He should be a backup somewhere right now, according to history. Like there's very few quarterbacks who have been drafted as high as he hasn't worked out with his first team. They go on to somewhere else and have the success. I think he's having more success than he has with the Rams. And that we're talking about the Detroit Lions, like obviously one of like the worst teams in franchise history up until recently. Even the first year he was here, like we didn't have the playmakers, like you said, and he still played pretty well. Like at the end of the season, I remember a lot of games where the Detroit Lions were in it, and we finally got that monkey off our back with that win against Minnesota. But it's just crazy that a guy drafted 1 overall, change of scenery. Like I've seen it 1,000 times where at this point they're a backup. Like he should probably be backing up Joe Burrow in Cincinnati right now. That's just usually what happens in this scenario.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong at all. I completely agree with you, man. That's why I like him so much, man. It's his story. And I know, on this channel, I'm giving him a hard time for, his running or lack of running ability. But listen, you can't question the dude's ability to lead a football team and be successful from the quarterback position. I think it's just, I'll be honest, it's greed, man. It's greed. I want Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to have all of those things that Jared Goff does, and then I want him to scramble around and make plays too. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, man, only one team has a Patrick Mahomes. So when you really break it down and you realize that, man, and you think about how there's other teams that have been successful with guys playing quarterback that aren't mobile, you just got to respect his game, and stay along for the ride. He's our guy for the next 3 seasons, maybe 4. We got that 4th-year option. He is getting like $56 million that year, though. So I don't know how I feel about that. But you can always restructure if he's playing great football. But I think that's when, Hendon Hooker should either be getting his opportunity, or I'm sure we'll probably, if Hendon Hooker's not working out, we'll draft somebody. So although I am cheering for Hendon Hooker, I'm cheering for Hendon Hooker long term now. There was a time where I was saying, hey, man, let's see what this guy has. Now we've paid Jared Goff. We know what we got in Jared Goff. Now let's go out and let that be enough, man, to get it done.
William, is 32 carries for 21 yards, 0.7 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns last year just not good enough for you for Jared Vick, I should say? Is it just not good enough for you?
Listen, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this hot take.
No respect.
If Jared Goff breaks off, I won't even make it crazy. If he breaks off a 30-yard run this season, I will start referring to him as Jared. You know what? But until then, this 1 yard touchdown,
you might as well have said 10 miles. Jared Goff ain't getting
that's what
30 yards.
You gotta at least get me a 30-yard run, man. Come on.
If the whole defense forgets they're playing, he might get a 30-yard run. You might as well have said 100 miles.
Stafford's got some long runs in him, man. I mean,
the other team was in a prevent defense.
You're not wrong. All
right, guys. The question is, can Jared Goff win the MVP? We think he can. It's possible. How likely is it? Leave it in the comments. Put a 1 through 10. 10 being the most likely, 1 being absolutely no.
Don't get off here and not tell me you're 1 through 10.
I'll say 7. I think he'll be in the conversation.
Are you even a Lions fan? What is
there's happening? Dude, I'm telling you right now, there's just some quarterbacks out there that are just hard to beat, and it's a quarterback race. Joe Burrow is probably my guy, man. I love Joe Burrow. You put Joe Burrow on this Detroit Lions team, we're talking dynasty. And I'm not trying to knock my guy JG, but Joe Burrow's just
to the Cincinnati Den, guys.
What's going on? That bad.
10 out of 10, guys.
Hey, well, you got the shirt. That's kind of like a Cincinnati color right there. So
get out here.
Leave it in the comments. Let us know
MVP,
how you feel.
Super Bowl 2024. You heard it from Will.
And Will said he's going to rush for 1,300 yards and beat Lamar Jackson and lead the league in rushing too.
He's had a great offseason.
Leave it in the comments. We'll be back later with another episode.
Peace.